Welcome to Chapter 11 of Storming Babylon. In this chapter, we will continue to explore the exciting and action-packed world of this thrilling book. We hope you are enjoying the story so far and are eager to find out what happens next. As we delve deeper into the plot, we encourage you to immerse yourself in the exciting events that unfold. From thrilling action scenes to heart-pumping moments of suspense, Storming Babylon is sure to keep you on the edge of your seat. We appreciate your support and hope that you continue to enjoy the journey we have in store for you. Thank you for enjoying the story, and we look forward to sharing more with you in the upcoming chapters. Chapter 11 Part 2.
Kozlov's part was simple as well. He was a facilitator. Although Dom was gaining an inkling, the man had acted on his own accord. With such a structured and imperialist organization as Stein's Babylon, it was unlikely the Doctor was allowed such autonomy regularly. This could mean the man went rogue. Then there were the attacks against Stein and the morgue. Each targeted Babylon. Ruling out Papa Mac was easy, but there were plenty of powers in the city. Stein just admitted he has many enemies, including these powers. An inconsistency was there, though. With Mac nominally off the list of potential suspects, few suspects were left. The curio black market has a lot of rules about practicing dark magics, and the city hunters lacked any remaining real dabblers in magic. The only powers and groups in the city that were left alive either did not or could not use magic. An outside force? Perhaps. It was unlikely with Themis running around. Mac's people were in every court, and the mortal affairs were all on the take from Babylon. Stein and his Council of Powers had a vice grip on the city's supernatural population that most tyrants would be jealous of. It could mean an infiltration or a betrayal from one of the policing forces. Of the two options, Dom felt the latter was far more likely. There was also the potential for a wild card. Adam was created by a mad scientist, made of recycled parts, and was around 400 years old. That is a lot of time for insanity to get stuck in his dusty old skull. Any number of plots and schemes could satisfy a madman's paranoia, entertainment quota, compulsions, or generally infirm mind. However, crazy people generally do not look sad when they learn their employees kicked the bucket. Even with his drooping face, there was a sincerity that would be hard to fake written all over the man's face. Dom started to take mental notes on Stein's quirks and mental state. He was too curious not to poke the monster.
It's not like back in the day with Dr. Frankenstein, then.
Dom was surprised by the telemetry of the response. He thought he'd pressed a button by bringing up Stein's infamous father. It had, after all, been an intentional attempt to get a rise out of the man, a judge of his temper. The man's eyes briefly flashed with sadness before he replied.
My estranged wife still proudly bears that old and proud name. I often wish I had her carefree spirit. She was always closer to my father's heart's desire than I was. She was much closer to his ideal of perfection. We were never able to have children, so after a century of rocky marriage, we grew apart.
Dom, satisfied with that, tried another line of questioning.
I'd point out that the case I'm on is dirty. It's work no detective, or mortal, would do willingly, which I am not. The only reason I got involved with this mess is because of the damned favor your boy called in from Papa Mac.
Detective, the case you were hired for has been concluded. I don't care what was asked, I release you from your burden as thanks for retrieving my friend.
Dom chuckled incredulously at Adam's worry for him.
If I wanted out, I would have dropped the doctor on the curb and been on my merry way. It's in my nature to see things through. I am involved until this is resolved, or I'm not breathing. You're not going to get rid of me till this is done.
Stein gave this some consideration.
Machiavel seems to have continued his time-honored tradition of hiring stubborn mules in human costumes.
Dom nodded in agreement.
So you know, the doctor had to make a deal to get this token. The Papa of New York never gives free favors.
Stein's eyes narrowed at Dom.
Your assumption that such a thing needs to be explained to me is disappointing, Detective. I would never have let this occur willingly. Your Machiavel's debt is a dangerous thing indeed.
Nonplussed, Dom laid it all out.
Your doctor friend used a favor from Papa Mac to help you. He used it to get me on the case while he was probably procuring what you need to keep ticking. He could have asked for the bits you needed directly and be done, but I figure his hands were tied for some reason. I'm guessing the reason was you.
Dom mentally reviewed Stein's file before continuing.
Hazarding a guess, I'd say it was a moral directive. You support charities, give money to humanitarian causes, and the parts nabbed by the morticians were replaced, not something a real monster would do for grieving families. It is either altruism, or a guilty conscience, but whichever of those it is, it puts the doctor in a pickle. I bet he wanted to check on his staff a little less than he was worried about the safety of your spare part stash. With that in mind, he likely went around town looking for other options while I looked into your morgue.
A croaking voice cut into Dom's explanation.
Chinatown.
The doctor was regaining consciousness. Most people as hurt as Koslov would be lucky to be alive, much less awake. Dom was impressed by the man's ability to weather what he had been through. Adam swooped to the doctor's side.
What happened, Artem?
He asked as he worried over his friend. The doctor took a moment to recover with deep breaths before shuddering.
I went out to search for replacements, master.
Koslov coughed in agony a moment before continuing.
Found a man. He told me about a shop in Chinatown. Several men snuck up and nearly killed me. Got to the detective, he has bad whiskey.
Dom queried.
Who, besides the two of you, uses the secret parts labs?
There are thousands of creatures in the city that feed on humans. Some scientists use human parts for their daily work. If they started to kill and eat like in the old days, the street would be running red with blood. These days, the population requiring human fare is extensive. There are certainly organizations beyond Dr. Koslov's guild that meet their needs.
Dom was disgusted but not surprised. He looked Stein in the eyes.
You sell snacks to monsters stolen from human corpses?
Stein rumbled.
Occasionally. It is the lesser of two evils, detective. Any body part that can't be revived during extraction is used to feed people who desire to stay at peace with their mortal neighbors. This system has drastically reduced the city's annual butcher's bill. As a customer of this service, I know the added life the dead have granted me has been used to further science and charity.
Dom interrupted the rant.
So I won't be finding any folks used from faiths that don't allow such practices when your back is against the wall with no other options?
Dom was overstepping but wanted to see how careful Stein was with his replacements. Lord von Stein looked at the detective for a long moment, gauging his question. He visibly marveled at the notion the detective had thought to check the donor's charts.
Each donation represents a person, now gone from a family. I take from people who have willingly offered to help others or science. People of faiths that do not allow for such things would not agree to such donations.
Dom felt a bit of fear creep up his spine when he asked.
So now that the lunch wagon is closed, how long until clients get peckish and start to hunt around for their food?
Reading Stein's expression gave Dom his answer. He could see the large man running numbers behind those emerald eyes. The city had time, but it would run out sooner rather than later. Dom leaned around Adam enough to see Dr. Koslov.
You still have the address for the place where you were jumped, Doc?
Artem pulled a blood-soaked bit of paper from his pocket and held it out for Dom to grab. He held the detective in place as he handed it off.
These men who attacked me. They were well organized. Be wary.
Dom looked the doctor in the eye.
You dragged me into this when you tried to bleed out on my steps. I am in for the ride.
Koslov was losing his grip on consciousness again. Dom let him and started for the elevator when Adam waved him toward the desk in the center of the room. Adam took his seat behind the desk and spoke quietly.
I thought if Artem warned you of the case, you would leave. If you can't be dissuaded, you can at least be armed.
He retrieved an ornate wooden box from a lower drawer and placed it on the desk. Once opened, it displayed a velvet interior and two black 1911 service-issue pistols with ivory grips. Delicately engraved on the white grip of one pistol was the word, Vitae, and the black grip had, Mortis. It contained 6 loaded clips arranged for easy plucking. Adam placed, Vitae, and a pair of clips on the desk before motioning for Dom to take them with a wave. The giant watched, grinning as if he were presenting a magic tricks element for an audience review. Dom wasn't against the use of violence. It was a budgetary and legal restriction for him. Owning a firearm in the city was a hassle and expensive. Having a weapon illegally was an instant week in the slammer and would revoke his license to work cases.
I'll pass on a hot gun, Mr. Stein. I like my job enough to avoid it.
Dom was a bit uncomfortable putting himself in this position with someone associated with his clients.
Not to worry. This weapon is registered. I will be handing you a bill of sale in a moment.
Adam's arm skillfully sorted through files on his desk before producing the paperwork.
I'll even report the sale myself to the precinct to ease your concerns.
Dom reluctantly nodded, knowing there was a lot of wisdom in the action. He made his way over to the table and picked up the firearm, finding the word death to be fitting for the situation, checking the weapon with the expertise of a veteran. The clip was full with 7 rounds. Dom could say a lot of things about these firearms, but Browning had made a good gun, and Springfield was damn good at manufacturing. As he took the gun and paperwork, he briefly nodded to Adam before turning for the elevator.